Okay. We have been discussing Vedic dharma, and in last 2 weeks we have seen in two parts, part one and part two. That in part one we noticed that dharma is not religion. These are certain universal principles, and that's how the things are designed in the universe. That everything in the universe must follow its dharma. And then we notice that human beings are exception, that even though I may know my intrinsic dharma, I can deviate from it. That is the design. And then we noticed if it was not so, then we would have been another animal. And there is a corollary of that is there are categories among human beings, good and bad, and average, of course. In part two, we noticed that that categorization is called as, in Sanskrit terms, are Devata, Manushya, and Rakshas. Today, I want to proceed with another extension of this. And as I remarked last time, every Thursday I am teaching in a Sunday school summer camp this concept of Vedic Dharma. So I have ready available slides. So slides are more for, I will say, designed for children 9 to 15 age. So, I don't have to spend that much time. So we'll go slightly fast. Okay. But I want, just for sake of efficiency, we can, use these slides. So as I said, because of the design that human beings can deviate from their dharma, that is the freedom they have, and corresponding accountabilities, law of karma, which has some rewards and punishment, and that corresponds to, there is one-to-one correspondence. If you follow dharma, the what is expected from you, then it brings joy and pleasure, what is called sukha. And if you deviate from it, and if you follow adharma, then you are inflicted with pain and misery, what is called dukkha. So sukha and dukkha have a correlation with dharma and adharma, and that is what law of karma is. But still, there are people who fall into the trap of adharma, because of temptations, and generally because they want quick gains. Because law of karma has its own gestation period, and if you don't have that much patience to wait for your, you know, what is called karma vipak, ripening of the karma, if you don't wait that long, then you want some quick gains, then you fall into this thing. Okay, then we said that what should we characterize these people as? If we say they are, they are also functioning, they also do certain actions, but if we say they are always following dharma, then they will fall in this category. And of course, they are not following adharma, they are very superior, better than average. So we were at bit loss what term we should use it here for. And that's what is the purpose of this part three. So this I will explain using another scenario. Just consider a child and mother in a home. Three possibilities, three scenarios. Common factor is the mother asks her child to clean up his room. Every child plays in his room, and then after a while. So this is what mother has said. In home number one, the child immediately gets into action and does it what he is expected. And there is another home where the child doesn't immediately get into action, but then mother offers him a candy as a reward. You know, if you do this, if you clean up your room, I will give you a candy. And then he gets into action, you know. So it's slightly different from home number one. And unfortunately, there is another possibility, home number three, whether even this inducement of this candy as a reward doesn't motivate him, he doesn't bother to do it, you know. So there are three likelihoods we are, and of course they have some sort of correlation with the. So these are three children in three homes we have just now considered, and we have previously looked at Devta, Manushya, and Rakshas. So there is some sort of correspondence. So every child maybe is here, but more or less, I will say more children will be in this. So at a young age, there are more children here than probably here, and probably very, very few here. But as they become adult, I think there is a larger fraction here. In number two, they do good actions, but they expect a reward. And this is what they are following the dharma. And here, you know, this is slightly difficult to visualize, but that's what a devata is. He does good actions, but doesn't seek any reward, doesn't need any inducement. Of course, he probably back of his mind, he knows that good actions bring a reward, but he just doesn't care about it. And of course, as adult human beings in any community, society, there are some people who do some bad actions, you know. So, you know, this mother-child scenario, you know, is gives us another perspective of what we are talking, Devta, Manushya, and Rakshas, where dharma is here and this is adharma. This child is not doing any adharma, he is just not getting into action. Okay, let's proceed further because these slides are for younger children, so you know we are taking time. Now here I bring out a new term, Nishkam karma. So we were at a loss here. What should we call them? They are neither performing dharma nor like this, nor adharma. Then there is a technical term, namely nishkam karma. Kam is expectations, you know. Nihi is, you know, there is no expectation. So he's performing a karma without any expectation, without expecting any reward or any such thing. So this is a new term. Of course, dharma and adharma we have discussed at length. Now we see there is another possibility. Okay, now let's ask, you know, the child, particularly the good child, you know, this child, number one, who just proceeds to clean up his room. So we call him as good child. This is an average, so to say. This is a bit needs to be improved. So we ask this good child a question, you know, don't you like candy or an inducement or some sort of a motivational thing to motivate you for good action? You know, why don't you look forward to such a thing? Then probably he will reply, you know, that I love my mother, so uh, I love to do what she expects. You know, from the child, he is not going to this kind of a logical, all this. He just says it's natural for me. So he says it comes out naturally. I just do it, it just happens. I don't think and decide. So, you know, he is so much connected to his mother that she just tells him, go and clean up your room. And he just, you know, automated. He just goes there and does it. You know, he doesn't, it's so simple for him. So let's look at the adult here. Now, adult, if we ask him, you know, why is he in this Devta category? what motivates him to be a person like that, then he is likely to say, I love the super mom. These are some terms I have used to explain things to the children. So the concept of Ishwar, who is called as Om. So this person will just say that, like as a child, you love your mother. I love this supreme mother, so to say. And I just love to do what she expects from me. So as if, now here, of course, the mother tells him in words, you know. But you can even imagine after a while the child, just the mother doesn't even have to tell him. The child, after playing around, just cleans up because he knows this is what is expected from him by his mother. So that connectivity, which is a bonding of love. So that's what I am coming here to, the relationship between mother and child, and now here between an adult human being and that supreme consciousness of Ishwar. So here, that's what we are building up. That mother loves the child, and now the child reciprocates that I love my mother, is it not? And out of that love, he behaves in a particular manner because he loves his mother. So he likes to do what is expected by his mother. And if that sort of a child grows up, becomes an adult, and develops a direct relationship or link with that supreme being, Ishwar, then he just follows the same thing. I love her and I love to do what is expected by her from me, and then it just comes out naturally for me. I don't have to know what law of karma is and what dharma is, and if I follow, I get sukha. I just don't have to know all that vocabulary. I take care of all this because I love her. Now this child, now, it's just a notional dialogue. The child is speaking to this adult that, well, I see my mother, but do you see your super mom? What gets you going in this particular fashion of your life? So he will say, as far as I'm concerned, I see whole day my mother works for me, does so many things for my good, and once in a while she hugs me, she kisses me, she demonstrates her love to me. Of course, it is so visible in all the things that she does for me. But besides the things, she also, you know, displays that love in a particular manner, and I receive it, and I acknowledge it, and I understand it. And then from my side, I also like to display my love to her. I hug her, once, twice a day, whatever it is. So he is explaining his relationship with his mother is a two-way process. He has benefited from mother's love, and he reciprocates by sense of love and gratitude, and he displays it in a particular manner. Now he is slightly inquisitive because that supermom is an invisible entity. So he asks this good human being, Devta, in your case, what is it? My relationship with my mother is like this, and that's why I follow my kind of dharma, the expectations of my mother. But why, how do you do it? You know. So the answer is probably he will say that just like you do it, I also benefit so many things she does for me, and I see it, I appreciate it, and she also hugs me like your mother hugs, and I also do that. That becomes slightly, a child will not understand. What do you mean by this? How does that Ishwar hugs you, or how do you? Um, so in the next slide, I try to explain. So that's what he says. I don't believe you, what you are saying. So then in the next slide, he explains it. Look, when I go in deep sleep, you know, then that is Sushupti called, and that time, as if super Supreme Mother is hugging me, so to say. And then in during the uh, daytime, when I am alert, I am conscious, and I want to display my love to her, then I want to go deep in meditation and what is characterized as samadhi. So I just brought out a statement in Samkhya by Kapil, Samadhi Sushupti Moksheshu Brahmupta. This statement has, you know, has inspired me a lot. So the point here is, you know, that you feel her love when no dreams are there, nothing. That kind of sleep refreshes you, energizes you, as if you were in her lap, so to say. The child, like a child with his mother, that direct, intimate contact that is so secure, give him security and energy and anything, that warmth of love and affection, whatever you call it. So the same thing, the adult feels it when he is in this, and he, from his side, he wants to do what, because he takes the clue from here that his mind was not functioning, is it not? No dreams, nothing was happening. And like that, he wants to do it in the daytime, and that puts him in a relationship with that supreme being. So here we are talking to children, of course, that like you have a direct relationship with your mother, you won't tolerate anybody in between you and your mother. In the same way, you can develop same relationship between as you grow, replica of that relationship with that supreme mother, and that love is visible. You can feel it when you do the practice of meditation. As that improves, that will make you feel you are direct in touch with her. So, we are trying to tell the children that dharma does not have to come from a book only. It is based on your relationship with her. But not those who are disconnect, they need the guidelines. So in the next part we will talk about that. So this is our discussion on Vedic dharma, where we have come this far, maybe one or two more sittings. Okay, so that completes our first part. Second part I already have in advance here from you. Why Kapil in Sankhya says getting rid of pain or dukkha is the objective of human life, as opposed to saying obtaining some supreme happiness or something, what is called Ananda in our Vedic philosophy. So, very interesting question, and it has some link with what I have just now discussed, really. So, I can go back to one slide of what we have discussed today, just now, where, you know, I will go to where we just started with today, you know. Yeah, we have three kinds of, that's the Vedic way to look at our own self and our community. And there will not be much denial about it, that there are wide spectrum of human beings. Of course, we can broadly put them in three, five, seven, I don't know how many categories, but these are three broad categories. We cannot be judgmental and just put one person here and one there. But within all of us, even if I do sit in introspection, I myself will be following this wide spectrum. Many times I am here, many times I am here, sometimes I may be here also. So we that's what human life is. So basically, point I am trying to make here is Indian way of this is our classical Vedic way of looking at our community and human species as such, and as well as our historical uh, perspective. So this I am saying because today the mainstream is very much obsessed with an idea of evolution, whereas at least Indian history, I don't talk about world history or European history or American history. In ancient Indian history, which is quite ancient civilization, where we see direct, there is a correspondence with our literature that human beings as such are following a devolutionary pattern, where in this particular way of looking at it, what we are saying is there was a time in classical where much larger proportion of people were in this category, much less here, and probably very, very few here. Now, as time has elapsed, following the timeline, today we have come to a place, at least in India, I will say, there are very few people even here. Micros, minuscule people may be here, and even I will say this has become a new average, where I won't say on average everybody is bad. What I'm saying is, on average, when a person has is there is a kind of temptation that he can gain from easy money or whatever it is, then he is likely to fall into this category. So this is the situation as it prevails today. So the reason I make this remark is at least ancient Indian history is devolutionary in nature, that human quality has been going degrading with time. This is very important to understand before I can answer this question. So I will say there are, and what I have said is sort of corroborated by the literature. So we have, I will say, three bodies of literature. Let's say Vedic first, second is Upanishadic, and third is books of six philosophy, what is called Shaddarshan. And fourth is, of course, post Mahabharata in last 5,000 years, all kinds of literature. That time we have declined tremendously post Mahabharata. Then from here to here almost. Now in pre Mahabharata, I will say there are three stages. One is Vedic age, when human beings are mostly here. Upanishadic age, slight decline, but they are still in this category. Quality wise, they are here, but they are declining in their memory and other capacities. So they are not so well connected with the Vedas anymore. They need the gist of the Vedas. That's why there is a need to bring out Upanishads. Now, in the now the as time is flowing in particular direction, there are some people from this category they are entering into this category. So that is the time of Samkhya. So Kapil now, the third stage is Sankhya Yoga Nyaya Vaisheshik Mimamsa Vedanta. This is third level of books here. So Kapil is first of them. So Kapil is writing a book for some people who are in minority, but they are in this category, but majority is here still now. Now, further down the timeline, Patanjali, many thousand years later, as I see the Indian history, in Patanjali's time, there are more people here now, and some are even here. So, the way Patanjali writes his book and the way Kapil writes his book, I can very well see it. If I have, I will have to go in much detail why I am saying all this. Because what Sankhya is targeting to some class of people, Yog Darshan is targeting to some class of people. So I can very well see. And of course, that many times I try to teach in my Patanjali Yoga classes that Patanjali's book has a particular format. Chapter 1 is for this class of people. Chapter 2, Kriya Yoga, is section A for this class, and Ashtanga Yoga is for this class of people. So, I can very well see why what is the difference between Sankhya and Yoga books and Kapila and okay. So now because Kapil is targeting these people and trying to tell him that look, this is the way to live. Now these people, now second part of the answer now. So I have to, so this was basis. Now introduction part. Now coming to the second part, you know, I will say what in the middle average Manushya now, who is following dharma, now he knows that dharma gives him sukh and adharma gives him dukh, is it not? That is what is driving force, and nobody wants dukh in his life. So this is, no, he's not honest by nature. For him, honesty is the best policy, so to say, is it not? These are two different things. Somebody is honest by nature, and somebody is honest because that's what is the right way to live, is it not? There is a difference. That's what we are saying. The difference between Devata and Manushya is saying, I follow dharma because it brings sukh to me, is it not? Now, why does he follow dharma? And this is philosophy of karma. So I have to go into, something was there. Yeah, I saw that. I can use it. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can use a whiteboard here. Okay. So, okay. So, why does it not work? I thought I should be able to draw it. No, it's not working. I don't know. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'll just explain if I didn't have a whiteboard. What I'm saying is, uh, this is, we are all normal human beings, you know, and within our mind there is something called klesh, in particular that is called rag and dvesh. So, I'm using my fingers and I will use it 3 times. So there will be 3 pairs and I am sure you will be able to understand it. So we are born in this world because we have certain cravings. They are coming from previous life. We have gone through certain experiences, something we liked, something we disliked, is it not? So what rag is, Patanjali defines is Sukhanusayi raga and Dukhanusayi dvesh. My craving towards what gives me sukh is called rag. And I similarly want to avoid what gives me dukh. So that is dvesh. So this is like passion and this is like aversion, is it not? So we are all born with a set of this pair, is it not? That's why I came into the world. Now, under the influence of rag and dvesh, I do certain actions. Now, the second pair is dharma and adharma. Now, I want to get something which gives me sukh. So I do some good actions, which are called as dharma, hoping that I will get sukh. So under the influence of rag and dvesh, I perform certain actions. They are paired as dharma and adharma. And due to the law of karma, I am rewarded by sukh and dukh now. So I hope you have got it. These are 3 pairs. So Vyas, who is writing a commentary on Patanjali Yoga Darshan, he says this is Sansara Chakra. That's what I would have liked to do in a diagram. A Sansara Chakra. This is Sansara is the world. Chakra is wheel. So this is wheel of the world which keep on moving. And it has 6 spokes. 6 spokes are Rag, Dvesh, dharma, adharma, and sukh and dukh. So once you have Sukha and Dukkha, they also make some impressions in your mind, is it not? That was pleasant. That taste of tea was very good. That resides in my mind. And then that becomes next rag and dvesh. That fuels my rag and dvesh, is it not? So new sukh dukh fuels the new rag dvesh, the new dharma dharma, new sukh dukh. So this is what is the wheel which is non-stop, is it not? And that is non-stop means because I am expecting some rewards of my dharma and adharma and which are carried forward. So this person has to come back into the world, is it not? So this is the cycle of birth and death, you know. I was born with some rag dvesh. I will die again with some rag dvesh. That will bring me again into the world. So that's what all this life is about, is it not? So we are being told. So what is Kapil is now? Kapil is now in Samkhya. He is addressing this class of people, and then he is saying, look, you want to get away from pain, is it not? Why not? Everybody wants to get away from pain. And then he is saying, as long as you are in this wheel of world, you will always have pain. You can never absolutely get away from it, is it not? So, as far as Kapil is concerned, to this class of people, now we are in the third stage of literature, you know. This is not Vedic age, this is not Upanishadic age, this is age of Shardharshan. Very start of it, Kapil's time. So Kapil is addressing the minority of these people who are enjoying the worldly pleasures. He's saying, you know, so here's a statement. Have you ever seen anybody who is happy always? So, but you know, he focuses on dukh because everybody has experienced dukh, is it not? But nobody will say, I have seen all kinds of sukh, you know, and nobody will say, I am always sukhi. You know, nobody will say that. But everybody will say, yes, I have experienced dukh. I was hungry at certain time and food was not readily available. So everybody has suffered one pain or another. But nobody will say, I have, because sukh is very unusual. It is very transient. It is very short lifetime. And it is very subjective. What was sukh for me 20 years ago, that may not be sukh for me today, is it not? So Kapil has no idea what sukh I should describe to this person to motivate him, you know. And there are 10 people, they will have 10 different ideas about sukh, is it not? And that has no meaning. So Kapil tells them that I want to teach you a way of life so that you are absolutely away from all kinds of pain and suffering, is it not? So his starting statement is Atativid Dukh Atyant Nivet. But if you see the Vedas and Upanishads, you know, there the message is yes, you be with him and you will taste that Ananda and absolute pleasure. So I think that was my answer. It's a philosophical answer, but what I am trying to say is in the first body of literature, Vedas, and second body of literature, Upanishads, the dominant number of statements are telling us be with him so that you have that supreme happiness, you know. I can show you many examples if you want it, you know, a lot of Ved mantras. One which I like very much, I wish I had singled it out, then I could have showed you. I just like it very much. Yo va shiv tamo rasastasya bhajyate am ushati eva mataya. No, let me, it's very short. Yo va, that yours. Shivatam, tam is always for superlative degree. The best. Ras is the taste, you know, juice. So that yours tastiest juice, you know. So I am saying to that supreme being that I have tasted all kinds of things in the world, but I know it you have the tastiest thing, which is supreme, you know. Yo va shivtamo tasya bhajate. That I desire now. So I, as a human being, ordinary human being, say, I have gone through all sorts of pleasures of life. But now I desire that what is in your possession, what you have it, and I am so confident that is the tastiest thing, because once I have it, I will not be left with any other desire. Then the next part is very interesting. Ushati Yuva Mataya. Mataya is mother's. Ushati means mother's milk, so to say. Yu means like. So this is an analogy. So as if I am being told, actually, it is so easily accessible to me, like mother's milk was accessible when I was an infant. So it is so effortlessly I can get it because you are everywhere and I am also there, but somehow I don't know it how to get it. So this is just an example where we are being told that a supreme absolute happiness exists, and it is very much in easy reach, provided I am geared to that. I know the path to that. It's a short journey, but I should still have an idea what the way to do go there is it not? So this was just, but I will say I can bring out thousands, in thousands, not in hundreds. I just have to open a book and just go on like this. But this was because I personally like it very much. The other one comes in my mind is apam tasthivasam meenam. This is like, we are all like a fish in water and complaining I am thirsty. So that's another way to look at it. So Vedas tell us in a different language. That language is different. While Kapil is argumentative, so this is a different body of literature. I hope I have answered this thing.
Well,
Any,
it's
you know,
it has to be heard few times and then analyzed. But when you were talking about the target audience of Kapil and uh, Patanjali, etc. I mean, you used words like Vedic age, Upanishad age, Shat Darshan age. So, uh, are these different than what we normally say in Sanatan Dharma as Satyug, Dwapar, Kalyug, and Vedic age? Is it same or is something different that you have addressed?
it's a different thing.
Yes.
What you have mentioned is that is a way to count the time. The flow of time in ancient Indian rishis were very scientific. So they had uh, you know, time, Vedic astronomy is very strong. So they, like we have seconds, minutes, hours, days, and months and years. So even after years, they had certain units.
Yes.
So this is a big unit of what is called 432,000 years,
Yeah,
making
yeah.
Kali. you know. So actually, it originates from one statement in Atharvaveda that the lifespan of this world we live in is 4.32 billion years.
Yeah.
Then what they did was they divided it by 1,000 and it came 4.32 million years. That is called as one Chatuyugi. Now, 1,000 Chatuyugi will be the lifespan of the earth, so to say. And at this point, we are at about 1.97 billion years. So, total lifetime is 4.32 billion years. So, there are still about 2.3 or 2.4 billion years to go. So, their way of counting was this 4.32 billion years, one Chatuyugi becomes 4.32 million years. Now this Chatuyugi, they divided into four, but not in equal parts. This was in geometric progression. So the one is called Kali Yuga, say that is X. Then Dwapar is 2X, Treta is 3X, Satyuga is 4X. So if you add X plus 2X plus 3X plus 4X, you will get 10X. So that X is 1/10 of 4.32 million years. So 1/10 of 4.32 million years is the time I just now gave you the figure, 432,000 years. So 432,000 years is Kali Yuga. You know, this is just measurement of time.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
in Hindu people, they say Kali is bad. There is nothing like Kali. This is bad or good. This is just they wanted to count the number. So nowadays we are in. There is another number they came up with called Manvanta, which
Yeah.
is 71 times of Chaturyugi. So we are currently in seventh Manvanta, 24th Chaturyugi, and in 24th Chaturyugi, Kali Yuga had just started about 5,102 years ago.
Yes, yes. Just after
So we
Mahabharata.
are in Kali Yuga of that. So that's how, in our creation calendar, we are currently in about 1.97 billion years. And they
Yeah.
are, rather than giving out such a large number, they say six Manvanta, seventh
Hmm.
Manvanta, we are in 24th Chaturyugi. So this is the Sankalp month, when we sit for a ritual, the Sankalp is read out.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
everybody says, this is the space I am in. I am in England, I am in this, and this is the time frame. Like rather than saying I am in, this is 10th July 2020, you know, our person will read out, we are in 7th Manvanta, 24th Chaturyugi, then Kali Yuga, 5,102 years, rather than reading that large number, 1.97 billion years.
No, no. Why I was saying that, the
But that is just time. And
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah,
I was telling you, Vedic age, Upanishadic age, this is human history with time.
yeah. No, but the characteristics, or if we say the like, Devata, then Manush, then ordinary, then Rakshas. So the characteristics, the deterioration that you were describing. I mean, this is what in normal age we say, like in Mahabharata, it was quite a downfall of,
Raja down.
human values.
Yeah.
And
That's why we single out Ramayana and Mahabharata.
yeah,
In Ramayana also, Sita was abducted, but, Ravana just asked her, you are in the forest, why don't you marry me and live in a palace?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He did not do anything forcibly. Of course, he took her away from her husband, but he did not rape her or any such bad thing. But in Mahabharata, Draupadi, was
yeah,
right in assembly. It's kind
yeah.
of a parliament. She is being disrobed. So that sort of a thing is difficult to
That
imagine.
downfall, and then
So
Kalyug,
that's
and
why
then
cousins were fighting, and there is a downfall between
yeah,
Ramayana and Mahabharata. So Ramayana is, at the end of Treta,
yeah,
and Mahabharata is at the early part of the Kali Yuga. So that's
yeah.
why
End of Dwapar.
that's why we say the age of Ramayana is about 800 some thousand years, point 0.8 million, because that is what 432,000 is Kali Yuga. So Dwapar is 864,000. So we are saying slightly towards the end of Treta. So this was zero point 0.8 million years ago. So, the Indian timeline is very different now, and the mainstream has a very different view to look at all this. But I will say, uh, you know, in Vedic and Upanishadic age, so Ramayana probably is, Shad is ending before Mahabharata. So
Yeah,
even the Jaimini and Badarayan, the last six books, they are about 1,000 years before Mahabharata.
Mahabharata. Yeah,
So
and
Kapil is
then
about,
Vyas
I will
comes.
say, Kapil will be many thousands before that. So, as we see just now, I remarked, in Kapil's time, the Yam and Niyam are not being talked much,
Hmm.
you know. But Patanjali is giving code of conduct, Yam, Niyam, as Ahimsa, Satya, etc. That means there were people who were violating these simple.
Violating, or yeah, less knowledge, and then Vyasa comes end of Dwapar, and then he organizes Vedas. But sir, you said Vedas. What's the difference in Vedas and Upanishads? I used to think that Upanishads are part of the Vedas, or they are the later part of Vedas known as Upanishad. First
No,
one is
Upanishad
known
is,
as,
you know, Vedas is the starting point,
yeah,
but there comes a time. So in the Vedic age, I am saying people were conversant with the Vedas, all that was in their memory, etc., and they were following that way of life. But then, that's what I singled out memory. That was slightly becoming deficient.
Shruti.
So, yeah. So Vedas and Upanishads both are called as Shruti, and you are right. It's called Shruti because it should be memorized.
Yeah.
Everybody had it in memory. So now there are some people who are not that comfortable with such a voluminous information data. You know,
Mm,
so
mm.
they need a gist of it. So the rishis who are still conversant with the Vedas, they produce a gist of the Vedas, and that is called as Upanishads. For the people in that time who were deficient in their memory, they could not absorb all the Vedas at a time. So Upanishads are kind of gist of the Vedas, but
So
they
you,
are produced by the rishis. Vedas are treated as revealed knowledge. So, strictly speaking, only Vedas are Shruti because everybody says, I heard it. Nobody claims to have authored it. But Upanishads are production of rishis, human beings,
okay,
based on inspiration from the Vedas. It is called Shruti in the sense in Upanishads they have they have borrowed Ved mantras just like that. Like Ishopanishad is nothing but Yajurved 40th chapter. So they have
yeah.
borrowed one chapter as a whole, you know. So, and in other Upanishads, five mantras are coming from the Rishis, then five mantras will come straight away from the Vedas. Then, so you will not, a common man cannot know it, you know. When is the Ved mantra, when is the not Ved mantra, but from somebody's Rishis. But those who are conversant, they can find it out. So Upanishads are production of rishis, not revealed knowledge, but is fully aligned with the Vedas and heavily borrowing from the Vedas. So they are also called as mantras, like Ved mantra, but it's not Vedas as such. You know.
So
Now the common factor in Vedas and Upanishads are they just they just say something. They just state a way of life, an idea. But in Shaddarshan now there is argumentative now.
yeah,
Now there is a debate and like Kapil is arguing with somebody and proving that this is what your way of life is not good or your ideas are not correct. You should follow this. So this is now argumentative style, and now in literary style also these are sutra. These are short aphorisms. So there is a lot of departure from Upanishads to Shaddarshan.
it's something like what Adi Shankaracharya also debated and put it into Vedant.
Yeah.
So
So the last of this book, Shaddarshan, is six books.
yeah,
They are also paired. So Sankhya and Yoga are paired, Nyaya and Vaisheshika are paired. Then comes Mimamsa and Vedanta.
yeah,
Mimamsa and Vedanta are by teacher and disciple. So Vedanta is by Badarayan, also called as Vyas, and Mimamsa is by Gemini. Badarayan is the teacher, Gemini is his student. But
student.
when the books are counted, Mimamsa is counted first, then Vedanta comes later. Or in other words, that is called as Pur Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. Now you are talking about Sankaracharya. He is about post Mahabharata, about 2000, 3000 years.
2000 years. Yeah,
Now he writes a book. His book is a commentary on the Vedanta Darshan.
yeah.
He's not writing Vedanta darshan.
No, no,
He's
no.
writing a commentary on the Vedanta darshan. That
Vedanta
is
is by
called
Vyas.
that is called Shankar Vedanta, so to say.
Yeah,
And then he has his own ideas. When you write a commentary, you present your perspective of that, is it not?
yeah,
So his target audience was, by that time India had become Buddhist India, so to say.
yeah,
Buddhism was right from Afghanistan to South India, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. Not that much international at that time, but throughout India. So Shankar took a challenge that I want to bring Vedas back into the Indian scene. So he has a famous debate with
yeah,
Nandan Mishra, and he was successful. So credit goes to him that this, so to say, Vedant, his approach of Vedanta was found acceptable in place of Buddhist idea. You know. Now, by the time of Shankar, Buddha himself, I won't say was atheist. Buddha himself was a realized person. These are my personal views now. I am not an expert in history, but the way I see it. So by the time Buddha, as I said, this decline had taken enormously, you know,
yeah,
enormous decline so that killing of even animals was now was there. Otherwise, it was unthinkable. Hmm? Now, Buddha was out of love and compassion, and he objected to it. You know.
yeah,
Now, the Brahmin at that time, who were not really scholars, but just, like today, if you go to a temple, there is a Pandit who just recites something, may not be knowing the depth of the meaning and concepts much. So, that sort of people, they were just reciting something which did not, of course, imply that you can kill an animal, but they were reciting something to as if to support that. So Gautam Buddha argued, before he became Buddha, he said, "Why are you killing the animal?" Then they said, that's what Vedas are saying. Then he says, just because Vedas say you will kill that animal, then he says, why do you object to it? Vedas are from Ishwar, God, and how can you object? So that way, Buddha had some aversion to, and of course, by that time, Vedas in terms of words were present. There were people who would recite it, but the depth of the meaning or even simple meanings were lost.
yeah,
So Buddha, even if he wanted an independent study of the Vedas, it wasn't easy. It was next to impossible because India had declined by then tremendously. But good thing happened was the Patanjali's yoga principles were very much present, and both in the literature and its in practice form. So what has happened is Gautam Buddha has become practitioner of the yoga, the
yes,
meditation. In that way, what we have discussed in past, Sampajyat Yoga, etc., that also reveals certain knowledge to you. So that is what is the word meaning of Buddha. Buddha means you have attained both. Both is jnana. So Sampajyat Yoga, you have realized that knowledge. So one who has realized that knowledge is called as Bodh ho gaya. And one who has attained that Bodh is called as Buddha.
both.
So, yeah. So Buddha is a title which means one who has realized deep in meditation all those messages. And message has to be same, whether it is written in the Vedas or you get it Sampajyat Yoga, the message is same. So I am sure Buddha got that, what we will say is the crux of the Vedic message, which is simple, like Yo Vashu Tamo Asastasya. These are very simple messages that you are the maker and in your company I will taste that supreme bliss and all that. So that he must have gone through it. But I think down the timeline, his followers, for one reason or another, they they brought out a new, what is the present Buddhism, where unfortunately the concept of Ishwar is absent. Otherwise, they have borrowed law of karma, they have borrowed all the concepts, love and compassion, everything is there, except their supreme being who is enforcing the law of karma. I don't think Buddha would have said that, but that is my view. Now, coming to Shankar, by that time, Buddhism was without Brahma, without Ishwar. That was his Mahayana or whatever predominant part. So Shankar debates, and now to defeat that idea, he interprets Vedanta in a particular manner that you are saying Brahm doesn't exist, then Shankar's position was Brahm is the only entity that exists.
Exist.
So he went this way. So while the balanced view is, Brahm exists, I also exist, and whatever it is. And then, but you have to understand that Shankar still has to admit that there is something called avidya and something called maya and all that. So, in Vedic way, like we have discussed, Dwa Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya, the bird, two birds on a tree,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the Ishwar and we, our tiny consciousness, and the matter, the universe as such. So instead of this, he has now Brahm and Avidya. Brahm plus Avidya becomes me, myself, and Brahm plus Maya gives rise to the universe. So he has three entities. You cannot get away from three entities, but his terminology was different. He was more focused towards Brahm just because he wanted to dislodge Buddhism from India, which unfortunately by that time was without God, without Ishwar. So these are historical developments, and I am sure everybody has his own way perspective and looking at it. But since you brought this Shankar Vedanta, his is Vedantic perspective in a particular manner to dislodge Buddhism from India at that time, which he was quite successful in one way.
Or he could revive the rituals or realign the rituals for Sanatan Dharma, which had probably, no current proper guru or so. I mean,
Yeah, that you can say that
yeah,
as such, India, we were never, Dharma was never a religion. And
yeah,
now, when we look at religions, there is something called organized religion. Now, so in our concept, dharma cannot be quite an organized dharma. That's the beauty of it. It's it's your relationship with that supreme being.
yeah.
You know, and ekam sat vipya bahuda vadanti. That means you may look at particular facet of that supreme being and are captivated by that. Somebody may be captivated by certain aspects, but as long as you are living in shadow of that, you will be a good human being. So they cannot be like Kapil also. When you follow this path of his Cavalry and upward and all that, so he says, yes, sometimes we want to study in a group, sometimes we want to two of us to do, but then he said, at the end, you will have to do it alone.
Alone.
So finally, it is your one-to-one relationship, one-to-one journey. So any attempt to organize such a beautiful thing is, there can be a group class, so to say, but finally, as the class develops, at the very, very end, everybody will be an individual. So, but today the world is obsessed with religion and organized religion, and we all are seeing the havoc of that. So, I won't use that term, but I know what you are aiming towards. Shankar did put, four corners of India,
Yeah,
four seats, so to say,
Pete.
and
Yeah,
that is okay. But then the ritual part, that I think came from Vallabhacharya. He made those big temples like Madurai and all those. That was Vallabhacharya afterward. Otherwise, I don't know much about this kind of history. I don't have much interest also.
You know everything and you keep saying I don't know much about it.
No, I have my perspective.
Yeah,
I have
these
my
are
perspective,
these
and
these
I
were
won't say I
Shankar's
am expert
perspective.
in that. So, I cannot be a qualified teacher in that. But sure, out of all this, I have chosen a particular thing like Sankhya and yoga and meditation. That is, I say upasana, so to say. So that is my first love. So I have to develop a perspective about everything. So, why did I choose this and not anything else? So, I have my own way to justify it that in modern science, age of science, I think there is a good chance because what Sankhya and Yoga are saying, I think has a good chance to for acceptance. It's just
Well,
one small thing, non-physical consciousness. And I think that can make the world much better. So I have a particular way how my journey of my life. Of course, nothing is perfect, but
so how I mean
I think we
maybe
have exceeded the time. But we can
so
hear
1 minute,
something,
maybe
maybe a question for the next time.
yeah, next week maybe how Kapil and Patanjali have defined God. I mean, I mean, you are from Arya Samaj Paddhati, and the concept of Ishwar is a bit different than Sanatan. And why I'm asking this because Kapil is part of Bhagavad as well. Kapil is part of Sanatan Dharma. Kapil is part of Buddhism. Kapil is part of Jainism. So
Kapila is
he
first, he
has
is Adi
defined this
Acharya. So
so
everybody has borrowed
yeah,
it.
so Kapil
And
is
I will
accepted
make a note of it. So your
yeah
question is the concept of Ishwar in Sankhya
by
Yoga.
yeah because
Right.
it becomes very important to know because Kapil is accepted and he is referred or used by
This is a very important question because one statement of Kapil, namely Ishwara Siddhe, it is used by many as if Kapil is an atheist. He is against the concept of Ishwar
yeah
because this is misinterpreted. So I will
okay
touch upon that also.
okay
Very
thank you
good.
yeah
Because
because
the
even for
one that I
Shankaracharya
showed in the first question today, Samadhi, Sushupti, Moksheshu, Brahm Rupta, Brahm is straight away there, can be seen, you know. So, okay, we'll discuss this question next time.
thank you
Thank you very
thank
much.
you
Thank you,
thank you
all of you.
thank you
And it was nice talking, and we'll meet again next week.